Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Speak, the podcast for teens. I am your host, Emily Miller, Teen Intuitive. All right, so this week I decided we are going to go deeper into the idea of reflections and how they relate to the body. And what prompted this for this week is that I have been having some wild reflections with the body. They have been popping up quick and giving me the opportunity to put myself back into alignment. And it's been a lot. So I'm like, okay, if I'm experiencing this, then other people have to be experiencing this too. So today we are going to go into just a little bit more detail about, because we've talked about this before in a previous episode, but it was very broad. So this one we're going to go into more details of how and why the body is such a big, loud communicator to us about how we are being to us, right? So if we can remember back to the idea that our bodies are in the physical world. And we have this sort of existence where we are in a 50% physical and 50% spiritual space. That is us living on earth. That's what's going on. So we have this 50% physical and we have the 50% energetic. And so with our physical bodies, remember they are made up of energy, lots and lots and lots of atoms, photons, electrons, all of those things that are put together to make up our bodies. And all of the emotion and energy that all the energy our body is creating is done through a lot of emotions, and then we project out those emotions, that energy and motion to the world around us so that it has our script of what we are telling it to create for us, and that is our creator field. So we have this physical body that we see, touch, feel, we taste, we hear, we smell. With all of these things, we have this sensory experience that we're having, and then we also have an energetic body. And that energetic body that we have, that we're made up of, is what is sending out the instructions to the universe. So anytime that our bodies are having any sort of sickness, disease, anything that is uncomfortable, anything that doesn't feel good, that is a direct communication from our higher self and source. And they're telling us, hey, you're out of alignment, so I'm going to show it to you. I've got to be able to communicate to you that you're out of alignment, because we've talked about this also before, but we are here to learn, to experience, to grow our souls and learn new lessons and, further ourselves and higher our frequency and become these high frequency human beings that are like very in tune with our spiritual world, and who ultimately are here to experience the unconditional self-love, seeing everything as perfect the way that source sees it, right? So because of that, our bodies are our biggest, loudest communicators to us to tell us when we are living out of alignment, when we are seeing ourselves as anything, literally anything less than perfect. And it will communicate even the tiniest little settlements, tiniest little thoughts that you might have about yourself where you are thinking you are anything less than perfect. So our emotions that we're sending out, the way that we're feeling about ourselves, that creator field that we have, it is our energetic blueprint for how, like, basically our cells are being created within our body. So if we see ourselves as imperfect and we are sending out imperfectness, then how do you think that those cells are going to be created? Are they going to be healthy, gorgeous, beautiful, thriving cells? Or are they going to have a denseness, a lower frequency vibe? So if we're vibing at a lower frequency, then what we're sending out is at a lower frequency, and our cells are going to pick up that lower frequency, and they are going to create some sort of discomfort, dis-ease, disease, or sickness, illness in our body. So the body is very, it's something that, so we can ignore a lot of things in this world, right? Like we can just say, so and so said something really crappy to me, and I'm just going to ignore that. I'm going to walk away with it, and I don't have to deal with it. My car broke down, and I'm just going to leave it on the side of the road, and I don't have to deal with it. My whatever is, something's wrong in my existence with relationships in my life, with friends, parents, family. There's things going on in my environment that aren't exactly perfect, and I stained my shirt, and I could still keep going on with my day. But if I have something going on in my body, it's going to make me stop, pause, and be like, wait a second, I don't feel good. And it's going to make me stop and say, why? What's going on? How can I fix this? What do I need to do to get rid of this icky feeling of whatever it is in the body? So our bodies are something that we cannot ignore. And so that is done perfectly by design, by source, so that we will have to stop, pause, and think, what is going on? What is causing this? Why do I feel this way? Because if we are sick with something, you can't just go about your daily life. You can't just keep moving along as if you normally would. You're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to rest. You're going to have to go seek help. You're going to have to do all of these things that cause you to quit doing whatever you had been doing to go find a different way to try to make yourself feel better. So let's think about how it feels, or what happens when we have a headache. So if you get a headache, let's find the cause to this, okay? Because every time that you have something in your body that doesn't feel good, remember, it's that emotion that you're sending out. So every ache, every pain, every broken nail, every stubbed toe, all of it, from those tiny things to big, huge things like cancer, they all stem from an emotion that you're sending out into the world. So every single sickness, every single disease, every single ailment within the body, no matter how big or how small, it all comes from a place of an emotional imbalance, a time where you put yourself in a state of less than perfect. And so with each ailment that you have within the body from top to bottom, every single part of the body tells a story, and it tells a very specific, detailed story. So let's go back to that headache that I started with. So the headache. So you think about, your head. It's where you have all of your thoughts, right? That's where your brain is. It's where everything is, sort of stems from. It generates from the head, okay? So let's say you are getting ready for the day and you're walking out of the door, but your parents stop you and they say, hey, Sally, you forgot to pack your lunch. Well, you are in a rush. Like, I don't have time for lunch. So you freak out and you lose it on your parents and you say something really hateful and something really mean, or you have a really bad attitude and you stomp around or you whatever, you're just making a scene, which is normal. We all do that. In states of frustration, we say things and do things that we normally wouldn't do. And then what happens is we say those things, we do those things, and we feel really crappy about it. We feel so bad because we've said something mean to our parents when all they were trying to do was like try to get us fed, right? Keep us so we aren't starving in the middle of the day because we forgot our lunch. And so then what could happen is you said that really hateful thing to your mom or dad or whoever, and then the rest of the day you keep coming back to that thought and you're like, I really shouldn't have said that. I was so mean to my mom. I was so mean to my dad. I shouldn't have said the words that I said. I feel horrible for saying them. And then you're just like replaying these thoughts, and then the emotion that you have is regret for being so mean to them. And so then you're replaying that over and over in your head, and what happens is you start like it's like you're beating yourself up and you're going over and over again on this thought saying, I shouldn't have done this. I should have been a different way. That wasn't the right way. And what you're then telling yourself is, I was imperfect. I should have behaved a different way. I should have done it differently. And remember, our higher self and source, they never see anything that we do as a mistake. It's just an opportunity to learn, to grow. And also another thing we'll talk about at a later date is that you saying things to people sometimes that are mean, are hateful, sometimes they created that. Sometimes it's in their creator field and they gave the script to you to be mean to them. So that's a whole nother side note, but we'll get to that later. So the headache, you're sitting there, you're beating yourself up about it. I should have done it different. I shouldn't have been this way. I should have da shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And so you're just going beating yourself over the head basically about this thing. And so then what happens is that you're letting those thoughts just sit in there and you're letting them fester and you're letting them grow, and they're getting bigger and then they're getting bigger. And so what we really ultimately want to do whenever we have these emotions, the ideal way to handle an emotion so that, because remember, we're humans and we're always going to have these times where we have emotions that don't feel good, right? Of regret, of anger, of sadness, of all of these things. But what we want to do with these emotions that we feel is we want to be able to let them go. We want to process them. We want to feel them. We want to allow them, and then we want to release them. There's a whole like cycle that we can also talk about later, where in order to fully release an emotion from your body so that you don't hold on to it and so it does not turn into sickness and disease, is to let it go. Let it go, so much so that you don't ever want to talk about it again. And so that there's many ways that you can release emotions from your body, and we'll go into that later. But like, let's just say your method of releasing this regret that you had about your parents being mean to them is you came to school and you had some free time and you just journaled out real quick or typed out in your phone and you were like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. But you know what? I probably was just playing out a role in their creator field. But then also I was a little bit emotionally imbalanced and so you're going through your whole thing in your journaling process to release that emotion, and then you won't get the headache because you're like, oh, cool, I'm settled with that, I'm done with it, I can let it go. But you didn't do that because you didn't know how to do that yet. So what happens is then you're going over and over in your brain about how hard you're being on yourself or how hard you were being on your parents in the morning. And then you get, so what happens is you'll get like a little, maybe a slight pressure behind the eyes. And then all of a sudden it's like this throbbing headache right here in the temples, and you can't get rid of it. So what that will do then, and how this works to get you out of the emotion that you're currently in, to try to have that communication from source and higher self, hey, you're beating yourself up, you need to stop doing that, is what they're telling you. And with the headache, and so anytime you get a headache, remember that. And then they're telling you to, stop doing that. But since most people don't know that, what it does when you get a headache is it makes you stop in your tracks, because you're like, okay, I can't go about my day like I normally would with this throbbing headache. So I got to do something about it. So then what you do is you'll be like, okay, let's see, what do I need? Do I need to close my eyes and just take some deep breaths? Do I need to take a nap? Do I need to drink some water? Like, do I need to hydrate? Am I getting this headache because I'm feeling dehydrated because you didn't know it was because you're being hard on your parents? So you're going through this like little checklist of things in ways that you could take care of yourself and stop beating yourself up. Flip it and start taking care of yourself instead of beating yourself up. So that's what the headache is doing for you. It's getting you to stop in your tracks and say, hey, stop being mean to yourself. Start taking care of yourself. And so that's what we do. It's like it's just in our human functioning, our DNA. Like we do that. We take care of ourselves. If we get to a point in our physical bodies where they don't feel good, we're going to stop doing what we were doing and try to take a new action to make that feeling, that old feeling, go away. So it's really beautiful how Source kind of has this whole system set up so that you will have to stop in your tracks and start taking care of yourself. So just because you do that doesn't mean the headache's never going to come back again, but you know now, okay, so this is why I'm getting this headache. So that's what the sicknesses do. They give you time to stop, they give you time to reflect, and they give you time to get out of your, routine of whatever it is that's creating that sickness or illness. So the creator field is creating that ailment, and then the body picks up those instructions, because it's picking up the blueprint of that emotional instruction that you're handing out, and then it's taking it in, and then the body is playing out what your instructions are that you're giving it. So let's think of another example. How about acne, or let's just say a pimple, just one. Anytime that you have any sort of acne on the face or anywhere, literally anywhere on the body, it is a sign, a communication from higher self and Source telling you that you're out of alignment in the way that you are feeling about yourself, and it's you feeling like you can't fully express yourself and be your authentic self. And typically we get those on our face. And so another part of that communication with that pimple is that you are thinking, okay, I can't be my authentic self because those people are judging me for how I am. So it's how I think, how I find happiness, how I speak, how I take in information. Each part of the face even is going to tell you a story about that pimple and why it's there. And if you have multiple in different places, then that's more part of the story, right? So there's a lot of different things that all of these areas of the body are telling you. And so whenever you get that pimple on the face, wherever it is, it's giving you a communication saying, hey, you're out of alignment. You're worried about what other people are thinking about you. And you are feeling like you can't be your truest, authentic, fullest version of you. And so higher self and Source, that's going to be their way of communicating that to you all the time. So anytime you would have any sort of bumps on your face, any acne, any pimples, whatever you want to call them, that's that communication from them. So let's think of some that are maybe even bigger, like cancer. So let's think about that one. The emotional root cause of cancer is very, very deep seated, like deep anger and resentment. And so anytime someone experiences cancer, it's going to be typically something that happened to them whenever they were young, whenever they were kids, okay? And so they could have had an experience with a parent, a caregiver, a random person even. And they had this experience where it could be so many different things. Let's just say that it caused them anger, okay? Because, they felt like they weren't being recognized for something. Let's just say that. And so that person did that to them whenever they were young. And what happens with that is that time, that instance, that thing that they experienced whenever they were younger, it takes a hold on them. It's something that is like a core memory that's within them that they hold on to. And so then, remember with that law of focus, what happens is they'll have more and more and more and more, hundreds of thousands, if not a million different instances that keep growing and proving that they aren't recognized for who they are. They aren't special. They aren't good enough, whatever the thing is. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger. And that's why you see a lot of times cancer in older people, because it has this time to grow and fester and make this blueprint of all of these cells that are that heavy, dense frequency. Because what happens with our cells is they regenerate all the time. Our cells are constantly renewing. And so you think like, oh, well, if my cells are renewing, why aren't they just coming back, perfect and beautiful? Well, because you aren't thinking that you're perfect and beautiful and all of these things. So your cells can only do what instructions you're giving them. So if you continue from, let's say you had that experience at age 7, and then you keep that up to age 57, and those cells just keep making more and more bad cells that they can't raise in their frequency because you haven't changed anything about the way that you feel. You've only held on to it and focused on it and had more and more and more of it. And so each time that you have an experience like that, that cancer cell is your body's attacking itself. It's growing and it's getting worse. And the only way that you can overcome that is to change your emotions. And so if you think about it, like if somebody has cancer and they get to this point where they're like, okay, like it's totally affecting who I am. I cannot function as I used to anymore. It makes them stop in their tracks. They usually have to go have some sort of very intensive treatment, which totally stops them in their tracks. Like, if they're having whatever their treatments are, it's something that's going to be major because the disease is major by that point, right? And so they'll have that, and it stops them in their tracks. And also another thing that happens whenever you have cancer is you start to like really realize, okay, I don't have much time left. Like I can't sit here and be worried about the past all the time. I can't sit here and be angry about all these things that happened to me forever ago. I got to change. Like I've got to start thinking about the now. I've got to start thinking about the present. I've got to start living for the future rather than the past. And so a lot of times people are able to overcome cancer because they have this change in their outlook on life. Their emotions change and everything changes, and their cells are able to become these beautiful, healthy cells again. Other times, sometimes if it's, that's best case scenario, sometimes it happens to where maybe they go into remission, but then the cancer comes back. And I'm like, well, how does that happen? This was one of my first things that I had, like, what about the people who don't get better? Well, what happens is those people have this moment of clarity where they are able to overcome the cancer for a little while. They go into remission, and then they just go back into their old habits again, and then the cancer comes back. And so that's how people can have it multiple times and have this sickness over and over again too. So there's just kind of some different instances from smaller things to bigger things, and how the body is able to read what we're putting out, how the cells are affected by it, and then how we can change it. So when I learned this information, I was like, this is amazing. Like, what could you not overcome? Literally nothing. Like, everything is able to be cured. Everything is able to be changed. Everything is able to become what you want it to be if you know what the body is communicating to you. And this was like, reflections are my favorite thing ever, especially body stuff. And my favorite thing is like knowing, like, okay, well, I can tap into my intuition and I can connect to source and I can figure out, like, okay, what is my body telling me? I can connect to my body. I can say, what are you needing? What's wrong with you? Why are you having a pimple? Why are you having a stomach ache? Why are you having heartburn? Why are you having a headache? All these different things, like, I can figure out through using my intuition. And it's so amazing to be able to, like, just fix things in an instant. Like, the other day, it was yesterday, I was having this pain in my neck. And whenever you have pains in the neck, it's you not being able to be like flexible, to be able to see the limitlessness in front of you, all the opportunities, all the things going on. And I was in this like tunnel vision of thinking, like, okay, there's only one way that I can do this. And whenever I had that pain, I was able to go, okay, what is this pain showing me? What is it communicating to me? And I'm like, oh, that's it. Like, I'm not seeing all of these unlimited options that are available to me for this thing that I was working on. So the body communicates quickly and it communicates very precisely. And if you know what the body parts are communicating to you, then you can get a super, super detailed story about why these things are happening, where they're happening, what area of life you're experiencing it most in. And then once you figure that out, you're able to flip it, you're able to switch it, you're able to change your energy so that you can have this open, expansive, aligned life. So, and this was another good thing too. Whenever you are in that alignment, whenever you are living in this, like, knowing you're perfect and having this unconditional self-love and always knowing that everything you do is exactly right, it's really good because then, like, let's say it's flu season, which is actually coming up, right? So everybody starts to always, this time of year, starts going, oh, there's sick people everywhere, da 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 da. So what happens is you can be around a lot of these people who are sick, a lot of these people who have, a cold or the flu or whatever. And if you are healthy, if your cells are healthy, if your energy is healthy, if your vibration is raised and good, you're not a match to all that sickness and disease. So you will not get sick. You will be healthy. Like, you'll get to be healthy if you know, like, I'm good, then you won't become a match to getting sick. So, I think it's just such a cool thing to understand how the body communicates to you, what it's saying, and then knowing, like, okay, if I can just figure that out, then I can fix it. The body responds really, really quickly to a change in emotions and beliefs. So think about that this week. Think about, what could my body be communicating to me? Like, if you get a headache, start taking care of yourself, stop beating yourself up. Do the opposite of that. What's the opposite of beating yourself up? Taking care of yourself, doing things that are good for you. Stop having that negative self-talk. Realize what's going on, and I did this, I created this, and since I created this pain, this ache, this ailment, then I can create not having it. So think about that this week. What is your body communicating to you? How is it speaking to you? Your body never, ever is working against you. It's always working for you, and it wants you to be living this beautiful, aligned life. That is what your body is here for, to communicate to communicate to you and then carry you through this physical existence and be strong and healthy and beautiful, and you can have your body feel good. You can have it be strong and healthy and all of those things. So remember that this week, and we will be back next week with another episode, probably about that emotional situation we were talking about earlier, how to fully release your emotions so they don't get stored in the body, because we never want to do that. All right, so have a gorgeous, gorgeous week this week.